Hi folks, here we are again, Terry Robinson. I'm actually a descendant of Robin Hood, and today we're going to do a special painting of a sacred place in the Salisbury Plains over in England called Stonehenge. And I believe it has sort of very mystical, magical aura about it. And I'm sure that my ancestor Robin would have visited there on odd occasions. So here we go, Stonehenge on the Salisbury Plains of England. Now we get them all sort of just briefly mapped out. That have over the centuries have dropped off and landed on the ground nearby. The biggest mystery with this place is how on earth did they build it back then? Not having cranes or anything. There's all sorts of theories running around about. Okay, back in Robin Hood's days, back in my great-grandfather's days, I would have had a lot of things back in those days. Perhaps always cautious when they went around to this place. A little bit of colour here and there. We get a little bit of purple. Where is it? A few clouds rolling in. The mystery of the area is beginning to build up. Setting, now we've got to start on the big stones themselves, which outline with the brush first. Some of these stones had a little nipple on top, or it's called a mortise and tenon joint, which the top big stone was chiselled in and could sit in the little tenon, which would lock it in place. So I mean, that in itself is quite incredible bit of workmanship. So we're just getting the first coat on now for these rocks. So we've got about 3 of them close together here. They're all different sizes, and apparently they had to drag these stones down all the way from Wales, which I don't know was 200 kilometres away or something, and how on earth they did that, who knows? It's quite unbelievable really. What I like to do with these stones later is to use a knife and put the paint on with a knife to create texture and light and dark across the face of the stones, if you know what I mean. But this is what we're doing now, is just a quick first whack at it. This is one of my favourite topics to paint, these sorts of historical things back in old England there. Ancestors came from, so you sort of take an interest in that area where perhaps your ancestors were associated with. You never know. Okay, we've got a basic idea now of what's happened here. The next trick is to do a few of these stones that are laying on the ground. There. These little bits and pieces everywhere. A few more bits back there. Start deciding where's the light going to come from. So I normally have the light coming from the right hand across to the left hand. This is what I normally, just to force a habit. Doesn't really have to be that way, but maybe it's just because I'm right-handed. But so the light's going to be hitting this part first. Light colour happening, a little bit shining between these two. And there's there'll be a little bit of light happening on that. The light and dark is actually the most important part of the whole exercise. If you can get that right, well, you're really on the right track. Now we go a bit darker. Darker in the back edge here. And you try to sort of blend it in a little bit as it creates a bit of a shadow happening across the face of the rock. And later I'm going to go over it with a knife, a little steel flat knife, and scrape some paint onto it to get some texture as well. Good thing about being a painter or an artist is you can use your own style. You see, there's not two painters are the same ever. I've found in my gallery, I've got over 50 artists displaying work in my gallery down at Devonport Wharf, and not two artists are ever the same. It's quite incredible that we're all different with our talents of using paint and doing artwork. You come through there a little bit. As you blend it through, you start to get a bit of a thing happening there, can you see? One of the biggest mysteries is how did they get these top stones up there? They weigh tons and tons. There's different theories that maybe some say they filled the whole thing up with dirt and then lifted these big stones up and placed them there and then dug it all out again. But really, I don't know. Because when you think of the hundreds of men that would have been required to lift these things, and back in those days they were hunter-gatherers and they wouldn't have had the food supplies to feed all these people. So it adds to the mystery, you see. There'll be some shadow on the ground because the light's coming this way. So the good thing that starts to make them anchor them to the ground, you see, as you get the shadow coming in. You can never forget the old shadow. So there we go, folks. There's stage one of Stonehenge taking shape. And the good thing about being an artist is you can take as long as you like to get the texture you're wanting, and you can take all year if you wanted to. There's no rules. You're the painter. And if you enjoy painting, I would encourage you to pick up the brush and follow our videos, subscribe to our channel, and we'd love you to follow us. It would be great. So I shall carry on with my mystical Stonehenge here now with the finer details now we can do to it, by squaring the rock up a bit if we can, tidying up the edges a bit. Yeah. Okay. Using the knife, you can create more texture on the face of the stone. Get a bit more black out. You start to create that bit of texture happening in there. See that? You see that sort of the texture you achieve from the canvas texture. It comes through, it looks a little bit like sort of stoneness. It's just one method you can use if you're wanting to. Between the light and the dark, a bit of a middle brown. I'm just going to actually try a little bit of yellow ochre in there as well. Texture happening there, you see that? Because the stones are not flat and smooth, are they? They're very, very rough and been chiselled all those thousands of years ago by those people. Like that, eh? A bit more texture happening in there, eh? That's stage one, folks. Yeah, that's good texture. Some people say that Robin Hood actually stood between these pillars and his men and defended themselves against the sheriff's assault with a small army after them. And they hid in behind these columns and could defend, and they won the battle of the day and escaped back into Sherwood Forest after a long run up north. Just a little story for you there. Yeah, folks, we brought it to probably stage 1 of, you see how we've achieved the nice texture on the stone with using the knife and blending in the light and the dark, creating shadows and bits and pieces on the stone. It's really a lot of fun doing that, you know, because it's not clinical smooth, it's all rough and ready. And you know, you could actually take it a lot further if you wish to, depending on what type of painting you're wanting to do. But for me, I just like to capture the main mood of the thing and you know, and bring it to a certain point where you're quite happy with it. And that's what it's all about, is being happy with your painting. Put a bit of grass here in the front. So there we go, folks. I hope you enjoyed that video, and don't forget to tune in again. Thank you very much.